For the inhabitants of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Great Eastern Crisis and the Berlin Congress brought a real upheaval in their lives. In 1878, Bosniaks did not have their own formal organization to join. They created their political organization only after the arrival of the Austro-Hungarian authorities on the territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The arrival of the Austro-Hungarian regime led to major change to which the local population had to adapt. The Austro-Hungarian policy of organization, conservative as it was by nature, penetrated into all areas of society. Many inhabitants of Bosnia and Herzegovina resist the Austro-Hungarian innovations, both thought and means and public protests. At the Berlin Congress, which was held in June 1878, decisions were made to redraw the map of the Balkans, which established a new political order that lasted until the First World War. The right of Austria-Hungary to introduce its administration in Bosnia and Herzegovina was its main gain in potential influence in the Balkans. The decisions of the Congress of Berlin were such that for the first time in its history, Austria-Hungary was assigned a colony to govern. The Berlin Congress represents a diplomatic gathering with perhaps the most far-reaching consequences for the modern history of mankind, bearing in mind that represented a kind of introduction to the end of the supranational, multi-ethnic and multicultural large-state organization and communities, empires that ruled the world until the end of the First World War. Everything that ruled areas later was significantly different from the old world. The Congress was also an introduction to new events such as the Balkan Wars and the First World War. It is the time when finally national becomes the paradigm for all future political relations in the world. At the Congress, the great powers of the time, Germany, Austria-Hungary, Russia, France, Great Britain, Italy and the Ottoman state, drew a new map of the world, and the Balkan Peninsula became one of the key points of contention among the great powers. For some peoples in the Balkans, of course, the decisions of the Congress caused great celebration. Serbia, Montenegro, Romania expanded their territory and gained independence. Bulgarians got a principality, while for others, primarily Muslims, some decisions meant the beginning or the continuation of Golgotha, suffering, exodus and uncertain future. However, from the third side, there was also happiness in misfortune looking from this point today. For example, if Bosnia and Herzegovina had not been occupied by Austria-Hungary, which brought some kind of legal system, the question is what would have been the fate of the Bosnian Muslims, bearing in mind the bitter fate of the Muslims of Serbia, Montenegro, Macedonia, Bulgaria, Greece and other parts of the Balkans. The present-day territory of Sanjak was for centuries an illegal and inseparable, in some respects, even basic part of the Bosnian state, whether it was in the Middle Ages or the period when Bosnia was an Ottoman province. Sanjak allied. In addition to the modification of the historical traditional name of the state of Bosnia to Bosnia and Herzegovina at the end of the 19th century, the decisions of the Berlin Congress also marked the beginning of the political and territorial separation of Sanjak from Bosnia, and that process was completed by the Balkan Wars. The Peace of Bucharest in 1913 took a step further in the division of Sanjak when its southern part was ceded to Montenegro. This led to a new wave of emigration of Muslims from the area. The consequences of the mentioned process are felt even today in many aspects. One of the most impressive is that the contemporary generation in Bosnia and Herzegovina know little and are little aware of the fact about the historical position of Sanjak in relation to Bosnia. Even a higher awareness of this is present in Sanjak itself. This is why there is still a strong narrative about Bosnian Sanjak ties, even among Bosniaks Muslims who live in two independent states today. However, there are other examples, as this was most felt during the 1992 to 1995 war, when many people of Sanjak origin showed a high awareness of the importance of preserving the state of Bosnia and Herzegovina. By the decision of the Congress of Berlin, the Austro-Hungarian monarchy was given a mandate of occupy and govern Bosnia and Herzegovina. The pretext was to establish order and peace, and in Vienna they expected that they would enter the country with military music. However, they encountered fierce resistance, not only from Muslims, which lasted for 3 months. They suffered several thousand casualties, killed and wounded, and then they had to maintain a military regime for 4 years only to introduce civil government in 1882. On the other hand, for the Muslim population, coming under the rule of a Christian ruler after more than 4 centuries of Sharia Ottoman state was a culture shock with lasting consequences. A significant part of the people headed east on a journey of no return. However, the other part resigned to its fate and very quickly found a common political or commercial language with the occupier. These are all important facts that go together with the special legal position of the state, the preservation of Bosnian continuity in the political and territorial sense, modernization and technological progress that took place in Bosnia during the 4 decades of the Austro-Hungarian system, and the like. Finally, in 1908, 6 years before the First World War, Bosnia and Herzegovina was annexed by Austria-Hungary, which definitively ended the period of Ottoman Bosnia. Perhaps in the time period in which they were adopted they gave the impression that something significant had been resolved, but the decision of the Berlin Congress in 1878 were only the introduction to the brutal 20th century, which saw the Balkan Wars, 2 world wars, the wars of the 19th years during the break-up of Yugoslavia and in Kosovo genocide, etc. All the processes and mass suffering of people only showed that the Berlin Congress did not solve anything in the long term, but only further complicated relations in the world. That struggle for supremacy and dominance of key resources at strategic points on the planet continues even today at the beginning of the 21st century. What changes are the dates, the names of the actors, and the names of the new congresses or peace conferences in different parts of the world.